And shall we? Because I'm interested to speak to Dave, who's our Wolves supporter. Dave, I mean, Dara's saying just go and get him, go and get him. I don't know how you feel about this, because Strand Larsen is a big part of your... Yeah. He said, I was trying to sell Jared Bowen in the first hour of the show. He's trying to sell Strand Larsen to everyone. He'll take it. I mean, look, you've lost Ait Nouri, very good player and crucial for you last season, Dave, in the goals that you scored mainly by Matheus Cunha, who's also gone as well. If you lose a Strand Larsen, that sucks the life out of your team, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the percentage of goals that we lose from obviously the two players that you've just mentioned there, and Jorgen goes, that is a huge amount of goals and contributions lost from that team. I think the concern with Wolves, which we'll probably come on to, is the time left for Wolves to find an adequate replacement, because they've brought players in to replace Ait Nouri and Cunha, but probably not to the quality that the fans have wanted so far. So if you lose Jorgen Strand Larsen, regardless of the price, I think it leaves Wolves in an extremely difficult position going into the final days of the transfer window. And like Darren, like you said earlier, you know, you're going to have to spend a lot of money to bring in someone of top quality. And we've not really seen that from the Wolves board and recruitment team over the last year or two. They've not really covered themselves in glory in getting the replacements in, which I think is why Wolves fans are really dubious about this signing.
Strand Larsen would have been a replacement for someone else. It's turned out to be a decent signing, to be fair, because if they
he would have been the Jimenez replacement, and that took 2 or 3 years to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, if they flip him for 60, 70 million, they only paid 30 million euros for him. That's good business. The other thing is, Wolves are running themselves a lot more prudently recently, right? They're trying to run out where they're clearing debt and making sure they haven't got a net spend every year or whatever it might be, any losses. But I would imagine, because they use a lot of big agents, that they've got obligations, loans with obligations to buy lined up just in case a ridiculous number gets hit. Because I'm not sure any club outside of the biggest clubs in the Premier League can turn down 70 million plus pounds for any player.
I agree. I think if offers of 70 to 75 million comes, Wolves and Fosun, the owners, will be itching to accept that deal. But they know, the fans especially, there's been a lot of negativity this window with how we pre-season went, how we've started the campaign, the lack of transfer business so far. I think there'll be some serious negativity if Strand Larsen were to go. The only way they can sanction this deal, like you said, is if they have these replacements lined up. If they sell him with no plan in place, they're going to be in big trouble. And I think you're sleepwalking into relegation without the replacements.
Look, Dave, they might just see this as well, the Wolves football department, in terms of a good bit of business, because I know he joined you on loan, didn't he, from Celta Vigo initially, and I don't know whether there was an obligation to buy him. There was an obligation to buy him. Yeah, well, there was. So £23 million you paid for him, and you sell him for 60. It's a great bit of quick profit, isn't it? But like you said, the time is ticking and it's chewing the clock now until the 1st of September. What do you get in terms of replacing the Cunha goals and the Strand Larsen goals? Is he that good, Strand Larsen? I've seen, you tell me, you've seen him more than me.
He is good, and I think he's actually very underrated. I remember even earlier this summer when certain teams were interested in him, that people were saying that, oh, no way is he worth that amount of money. But he scored 14 Premier League goals last season. I mean, there's nothing to stop him from doing that again, or even hitting more goals this season. I think at the end of the campaign, if you've got a striker that's hit close to 15 goals back-to-back in Premier League campaigns, there's not many forwards in the league that have done that. So I think there is probably scope for that value to stay the same, if not add a little bit more to it. But I think if this saga was happening sort of in July, I think it would be a much more straightforward conversation to have. But because we're talking sort of 5 days left of the transfer window, it's a difficult situation. And I know Wolves are being very strict and saying he's not for sale. But
David, striker tax, mate, as well, isn't it?
Got a price.
Striker tax. I mean, we see it, especially when you get desperate. I mean, Dara, do you see this drip down into the EFL in terms of, look, here's a guy that scored so many goals in League One or League Two, whatever.
Let me tell you. The lack of number 9s out there now means you're getting people who've scored 10, 12 goals in League One or League Two, and there are £500,000, £1 million bids going in. This wasn't happening a few years ago because lots of clubs had options. Then the Premier League started harvesting young, talented strikers lower down, and instead of selling them or doing deals with clubs like us, they're keeping them and putting them out on loan. That's led to a real shortage of 9s. That's where now you're seeing strikers go for money that they're nowhere near worth. It's just the market the way it is right now. I'm looking at it and going, if I find 3 punts out there, you know, over the next coming days, I don't think I'll go into our first team. I'm spending the money and sticking them in our 21s or up in our stands. Do you know what I mean? To develop, because the striker market's going crazy, you know, and that's just the business we're in. But at the same time, when you're a sensible football club, you have to do good business when the opportunity strikes. And Wolves, to sign a player for 23 million and end up getting 3-4 times the money. And if that allows them to get 2 or 3 additions to the squad to help them, you've got a good enough manager to come back from that.
And look, Dave, just on the future of Wolves, if this is to happen, and I know you desperately will want to keep him, but I was just trying to look at the bench there from the defeat against Bournemouth. 2 Premier League games, you haven't scored a goal, right? He got 14 Premier League goals for you last season. You're looking at Fer Lopez, who's a 21-year-old, who's hasn't got a track record of scoring a hell of a lot of goals, and Hwang as well, who I know had a good season for you a couple of seasons ago. Even he's been linked with a move away before the window closes.
Yeah, Hwang's certainly not hit the heights that we've seen, and he's a real sort of up and down and sort of confidence and form player. Wolves cannot risk having Hwang Hee-chan as the number 9 striker, not even until January. No disrespect to him, but like you said, it will all come down to, number one, Newcastle putting up enough money to even tempt Wolves, because I think it's going to take at least 65 to 70 million for Wolves to even be tempted by it. And 2, whether they're going to use their business head of, Darryl, like you said, it's a massive profit and a massive, turn up for somebody we signed for just under 25 million weeks ago, or they're going to be sensible about it and say, if we sell him, there's a massive risk that Wolves are going to, like I said earlier, sleepwalk into relegation.
No, too good a manager. I don't think that'll happen.
No, I agree. I'm very positive, and I think Wolves are good enough, even with this current playing squad, to stay in the Premier League. But losing a player of that quality with no guarantee of players coming in is a huge risk for Wolves. They have to, if they come close to sanctioning this deal, they have to have 2 or 3 signings lined up ready. Wolves are 3 or 4 players short at the moment, as it is. If you're losing a number 9 as well, Strand Larsen's the only out-and-out number 9 we've got in the team that's fit and could play a full Premier League season. So we need another one on top of him anyway. So you're adding so much pressure on the final days of the window. And Wolves, as many other Premier League teams in our position have really struggled to bring in players this window. And they can't afford to risk it with days left of the window.
Yeah, good call, Dave. And look, that's a really good point, because at the end of last season, Wolves were absolutely flying, weren't they, under Vitor Pereira? However, the core of that team has been absolutely ripped out.
As this happens, ask Palace fans how that feels. It's the same thing, you're winning trophies and you're losing good players. Unless you're one of the top clubs in the world, it's difficult to turn down business.
And Palace and the like, they're in European football and still struggling, in some capacity, and still struggling to sign players. So imagine the teams like Wolves and so on. We're finding it extremely difficult. And there's teams, in my opinion, of similar stature and reputation, such as Nottingham Forest and Palace, that still can't quite get the players that they want. So it's even going to be worse for Wolves, seeing as those sort of teams are in European football.
Dave, top man, good call. There we go, Dave, the Wolves fan. I've got a bit of breaking news to bring.